guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. I heard tale and tall story one time. I don't know how true this is, so don't quote me on this. TenTec, if you would buy an amplifier from them and then go show up their factory to pick it up, they'd run your device up to its full output power. They'd run it up, you'd show up the factory, they'd run that device up to full output power, and then they'd wrap a towel around it, and then they would say, come on, let's go tour the factory. And they just leave it sitting there running. And they had the tour pretty much set up for the factory so that it took roughly about 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. And when you were done with the tour, they'd come back and be like, oh, here's your device. Pull the towel off of it, take it out of transmit, let it cool down for 5 minutes, 10 minutes or whatever, and proceed to box it and send you out the door with it. Now, I don't know how true that story is, but I've heard it from several different people. But of course, these are all coming from the same cats out of the Northwest that are pretty much the same click. So you got to run it through that filter that, you know, these are ham radio CB operator guys that are gonna, you know, my grandma heard from your grandma that, you know, her snatch smelled like Beetlejuice. The story could have gotten around. We don't know. But I love telling that story. I don't see anything why this wouldn't be possible with this device. But now the gentleman that I was talking about earlier, he really took that to heart. And with this particular model of TenTec, he blew the power supply up 3 times and melted the tubes out of it once. I mean, literally just melted the thing to the ground. And his idea of being dominant was staying on the mall. Like he'd key up and he'd start talking and just 35-minute key down. I know, I sat there and watched him do it in his basement several times, just going, oh my God. I'd get up and go watch TV in the other room and come back like 20 minutes later and he'd be like, I got down. It's like, Jesus, dude. That was his idea of being dominant. I have a completely different outtake. This was his final big stage box. He actually won a couple belts on a box, something like this, using this to drive a pair of 3000s. But for a long time, this was his big box. This little tiny thing. Guys, let's get on with it. I love this big old camera. I'm not gonna lie, I think the video that it takes is pretty sweet. Okay, let me rotate that screenage around so I can see a little bit better. I always thought that this was like the Cadillac of amps. Growing up. And this is a pretty well-built amp. I brought you the Centurion, and I can't remember the other model number. They both ended up going to California. Both the guys that own these love them. The neatest one I had so far was with the blower. It was in the bottom of it. I was really, really impressed with that. That thing was awesome. The amount of power that thing produced, for the amount of drive that you put into it, and how well it operated. I was really, really in love with it. Now, my job is to stand out here and talk to you guys as I do this stuff. And here lately I've been doing a lot of time lapse because I've had to get so much stuff done. I'm really behind the ball. And I don't know how much of my talking gets translated into, oh, he's just trying to sell us something, but that last one I did, man, that was a beautiful amplifier. Internally, operation-wise, oh, freaking loved it. I wanted to keep it myself, but I just couldn't. I need another amplifier I'm not currently using for anything whatsoever, like a hole in the head, you know? Couldn't bring myself to do it. So, yep, same model. My neighbor, he had a problem with this tuner continuously arcing on 11 meter position. Ooh. Oh. Oh. We had a failure. Oh boy, did we ever have a failure. Anyhow, he, this tuner in the 11 meter position would continuously arc over on him. These little silicone booties. I don't know how he did it, but he got hot enough to catch one of these on fire at one point. This band switch has got some problems. Let me jump to the other camera. It'd be easier to shoot. Hold on. Look at this beautiful architecture. That's our vacuum relay right there. You see that little white post? It's a relay. Gotta love it. This thing is pretty. But this is going to require heart surgery. Let me show you what I mean. Shit. We need more light. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. This will work. Okay. Look at that. Whole band switch is exploded. I think somebody was way out of resonance on 160 meters, because that's the output tap, an output coil. Yep. Wow. This is burnt too. I don't know. I'm going to have to stretch out the power of the internet on this one. I don't know if I'll be able to find me another one of these band switches. Might just have to build my own parts. All right, let's hop over to the other camera again. Yeah. Whew. So this is a completely unsupported device anymore by TenTec. Completely. No way to take these off. Yeah, I'm just going to pull the booty off. That's why he kept burning up the silicone. He didn't have the paper insulator on it. 3CPX 800 A7. Little tiny 800. That thing cute. And then you have 4CX 800. Looks like something like this. So, is what it is. I gots to take this sucker down. It's the only way to get in there and figure out what's going on with that band switch. I have a feeling I'm gonna have to build my own paddles. And I can tell this is gonna require a complete disassembly of the front of the amplifier, removing all of the tap leads, which there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 leads. Wow. I bet this made a hell of a zap noise when he fired down. He didn't have his antenna selector in the right position. Yeah, so all the upper bands are on this front plate. Yeah, as it turns, it pulls in. Yeah, he was in 160A. So what it's missing is an attachment point for this doorknob and then the end of the tank coil. First step is going to be to find out if I can get myself a new band switch. So that means tomorrow I get to call TenTec or the remnants of it. Pray to God I can get a hold of somebody over there, because they're not the best at answering the phone from what I understand. But if I do, I'm pretty sure they're going to tell me that this is out of support, no longer, no parts laying around anywhere in the warehouse. Might have to get a little creative and add another band wafer to the inside of this thing, but we are going to make it work stock, you mark my words. Well, let's see here. It's the next day, and we here at BBI Command Central have woken with a new sense of vigor, drive, and determination for this week. Let me add some H2O. Bobby Boucher would say, that's some cool H2O. Okay. Overfilled my sponge tray. I'm dripping. I'm dripping. And not the kind of dripping that requires a shot in the buttocks. And yeah, we're talking about the clap. First things first is I got to create some room to work. I spent a little bit of time looking at this. And just sadness and disgust, but last night, and I can't get excited because I knew this going in. I spent a little bit of time on the Interbluebler last night. I'm looking for this particular band switch. Was not successful, but I have not called Titan yet, or TenTec, although I'm not too sure how much good that's going to do, since this is a completely out of service unit. Let's see, what is this really going to take to get in there and get this? So yeah, see, this is all burned up in here too. So this has been, we tried to repair it here, but I mean, that sucker is scorched. This is new. They're blockers. Those little disc capacitors are blockers. This thing is in such good shape though. So what I'm thinking is if I can take this, there's a flex joint that's right here. If I can take the bottom side of this off, disconnect this rod, like release it, this brown rod here, get it to slide back in, I can disconnect this flex joint, and then I can take the band switch apart with this top and this bottom nut that are in here, down there on the band switch. And then I can take the keeper housing, which is here, I can release that, and then I can take the whole band switch off, and I don't have to disassemble the whole front to take the whole band switch out, which will save me a ton of solder work. I hope. I'm going to call TenTec real quick. So, all my old phone numbers for TenTec are not good. No valid no more. So, I shot them off an email, which you, I, me, everybody knows isn't going to do us any good. Let's got this in the 40 meter position. Better write that down, because I know my half-witted retarded self, I'm gonna forget. 40 meter. All right. Now, this joint's kind of cool. It's just a flex coupler. Focus on me. It's just a flex coupler. See that? Hey, camera. It's just a flex coupler. Very simple. Now, the fun part. How do I get that out of there? Ooh. Wow, this is all chooched up too. I'm gonna have to, I'll show you that here in a minute. Just wonder. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a slow roll, but I think we'll be able to pull this off, maybe. Okay. So, star washer, standard washer, nut. Come here. Star washer, regular washer, plastic washer, nut. It's the time when I wish I had little tiny baby fingers, which I obviously don't. All right, give me a few minutes. I'm going to cuss at this now for a minute. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see here. There it is. Okay. So close. Ah, so close. I don't think that this is the right tool for this job here. Well, let's try it one more time. Nope. Might have to go buy a different tool. Oh man, there's my boss calling me. All right, let's fiddly fart around with this a couple more times. I'm just going to rip it out of here with a Phillips head screwdriver and get all nasty with it, I guess. So close, and then it hops out every time. Nope. Well, I wonder if I'm changing, if I should change to this hobby majabi here. See, the thing is I went and I bought the interchangeable headpiece. And I think that was a mistake. I should have gotten the fixed pins. No. It's been one of these days where it's taking hours to get anything done. We're running the boss's tow business the last couple weeks, right? And I got to go back and do it again at the end of this month. And I'm supposed to have this whole week off. And I went and this morning I gave him the official data dump on what happened last week and got him all caught up to speed. And we'd last week we'd impounded a semi. Well, yes, boys and girls, I literally have a license to steal cars, amongst many of the other qualifications I have for this world. Anywho, the owner turned out to be a very nice Russian man that spoke with a very, very thick Russian accent. And I don't know why, but my coworkers are really having a hard time with that. And he called me and asked me real quick if I'd go over and deal with this man, which I do, because, you know, that's part of my job criteria for him. Oh, come on, you boogered little covered snot monkey. Nope, this is not happening this way. So I went over and dealt with this nice Russian gentleman. In about 20 minutes of him screaming and yelling at me and me just standing there looking at him, we come to an agreement. And the agreement was he had to pay me. We were able to get him squared away. His driver decided that he didn't want to work for him anymore. And so he pulled his semi into a Home Depot parking lot, cleaned all his shit out of it, and left it. Well, I understand that happens in the trucking industry. I get it. People get pissed off about things. The little whoobies get hurt or whatever. Oh, this is silly. The little whoobies get hurt or whatever. And they're off to go do other things with their lives. Well, Home Depot called us and said, hey, can you please come get this thing out of our parking lot? We've had it here for 3 days. Well, needless to say, the guy that abandoned the truck must have been something ordered to a Swift driver. Translation, new. And he jammed on the brakes so friggin' hard that it caused one of the drums to cam over. And I was telling this guy, I said, well, that's great. I'm glad you're here to get your truck. I really want you to have it. I'm not interested in owning it. How are you going to get it out of our lot? Oh, I drive it. No. No, partner. I don't think so. So I went on to explain to him that there was a mechanical issue with his truck, which did not make him happy. And he's already not happy that his stuff's been towed, but it is what it is. Lover.
Hey, baby.
What are you doing?
Going to get bug. You need anything while I'm out?
No, baby. I'm just going to sit here and keep continuing videoing my video.
All right.
I love you.
Love you.
Say hi to the boys.
Hi, guys.
I've gotten really good over the years at reading people and situations, and my boss utilizes that quite a bit. But we got this guy dialed back in, and we got his truck out of the lot, and I hooked him up with a buddy of mine that runs a roadside fleet maintenance deal. I was able to come over and say that they could jack the truck up and take the cam out and flip the little sucker over and recam it and whatnot. So we got them all squared away. We had to teach one of our newer drivers how to sling the thing, NASCAR sling it with our medium duty. We got it out of the lot. This is not working. I'm not enjoying what I'm doing here. Let me modify some stuff here. Ha! Got it. Whoop, whoop. That makes me feel successful. Come to find out, the main thing I was having a problem with was the little pins on this tool were not actually physically fitting. Yeah, see, I got to still modify these pins a little bit more to put this back together. They weren't physically grabbing onto the key. So, all right, I'm going to make this so I can put this back together here in a minute, and then we're going to come back and we're going to work on this. So now, if I'm not mistaken, this should just come right, yep, just like that, come right off. Wow. 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 So this whole end of the switch is abandoned. The only thing that we're switching are these two contact points together. So what's keeping me from just rotating this thing? Because I'll still have good contact with the pressure plates. So that's indexed properly. So what's to stop me from turning it? Okay. Wow. I don't know. I don't know. So I got myself a lead. This switch was manufactured by a company called Electro Switch. So now, because scale and size are not, unless you got something of reference in a picture, it can be very deceiving. So I'm sitting here measuring this thing, because now I got to go find the person who's going to be lucky enough to come and hang out with me the rest of the afternoon and figure this out for dear old BBI. Okay. See, now if I change the indexing of the switch, and we go from, let me show you how this works. This was indexed like this, okay? It was indexed just like this. Well, these two tab points are the ones that exploded. Now, this has seen some tremendous pressure. I cleaned all the burnt schmew off of this, and then it melted the entire wiper mechanism here. But if you notice, this whole side of the mechanism isn't touched. This whole side of the armature. So I bent this back, and there was little pieces of molten trace material that had drizzled, because, you know, the switch is orientated in such capacity, and, you know, gravity takes effect, and apparently this was operated multiple times, and it got really hot enough that all this eroded and disintegrated, and it drizzled back towards the center shaft support. So I was able to chisel all that out and get all the carbon out of here and get it cleaned off this porcelain. So I feel fairly confident if worse comes to worse, I can just index the switch 90 degrees out and then use these two good contacts down here. So we'll make it so that when it goes into 160 degree operation, whichever two of these tabs, you see we're using 4 tabs here, these two and these two, we'll be able to utilize these two and these two. And so then I sanded all the molten metal and schmew off of there, so now we still have these two little tiny contact points. There's enough metal mass there to support this. I'll come back and I'll flow some solder on this to help beef this up. But there's more than enough metal material here to make the switch still operate perfectly functional at a full output level, I feel. It's just going to take a little bit of revisiting. And I'd have to extend this lead. One wire. But I'm going to go spend the next 4 or 5 hours trying to track down this particular switch. Well, okay. So here it is, almost 5 o'clock at night now. I spent most of my day hunting parts for this thing. And we have discovered that we've got a part number, thanks to a listing on eBay, The guy on eBay wants an absurd amount of money for his little band switches that he's got. Absurd. Doesn't even start out in 75 meters. Absurd doesn't even cover it. This little switch, he wants roughly $60 for it, because he bought them directly from the old owner of TenTec. Which, cool. I mean, capitalism at its best, baby. I mean, that's... So I want that first lever to jump, and then I want it to engage. This one, and that one. Which it'll do beautifully. And what I mean by that is, in a capitalist market, you get to ask whatever you want. And if somebody's willing to pay it, okay. It's that simple, you know. I could charge $1 million an hour. I'm not forcing anybody to pay me $1 million an hour, but I could ask that. This guy is asking for almost $400 for a switch that we can order for $144 from Mauser, come to find out. Mauser's got a 16-week lead time. And the beat keeps going and going and going. There are some in India, but after I pay the taxes and the import tariff on it, it's almost as expensive as the one on eBay. So we're going to do ourselves a solid temporary fix. We're going to take and index the switch. Instead of having it this direction, we're going to index it so it goes this direction. That means we're going to have to extend a couple of these leads. No problem. I've got this stuff called Teflon wire. It'll work great. So I think, yeah, 80. So 160. That'll work. That'll work beautifully. Okay. Now, sorry, I was just discussing this with myself. Luke, make sure to put this together before you put it back in the amplifier. So I want to index this like so. Come to find out I didn't need to do all this my job inside the amp. I could have very simply done it outside the amp. I wanted to get that clip on there perfect. And that meant taking it on and off like 3 or 4 times. I didn't feel like talking to you through all that. Please forgive me. Dear Lord, please take mercy on BBI. Okay, so now this can go down in here like so. I would never consider doing this unless the contact points were perfect. And after spending a little bit of time working with it, I need to pull this doorknob out. That's all there is to it. After spending a little bit of time working with this thing, very comfortable with this. There's more than adequate amount of metal contact going on here. Oh shit. Just dropped my porcelain spacers and my plastic spacers. No problem, I got this technology. I mean, I'll never know, but I would love to understand what happened here. Like, I can only assume that he ran this thing without an antenna attached to it at full, tuned for full output power. And it gave up the ghost here. It's the only thing I can assume. I don't know. So put this spacer on. Shove that little guy on. Whoa, ho, 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 ha. Ha, ha, wah, ha. Oh, this is going to be such a joy to put back together. That bottom nut's going to be a son of a diddly. Just tell it right now. Okay. Done. Okay. Plastic washer, regular washer, star washer, nuttage. Nut butters, nut butters. Okay. Let's slide the rest of this together. Oh. I got it. Got it. Oh, I got it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's on there. Oh. Woo! That little bastard did not want to go on there for nothing. Okay, let's play the little quarter turn dance. Turn, release. Turn, release. Turn, release. Oh, by the way, there's no way to get a socket on this. Believe me when I tell you, BBI tried. They've got it sitting, it's just, I tried to get a socket on it and it won't. Needless to say, I got in contact with the company that makes this, which is Electro Switch. And for the record, the part number is 690-E4C-N18. And that's not even really the right number. I'd have to cut that switch down, cut some of the contacts, but we purchased one anyway, eh? We're tight. Okay. And that's that. Okay. Oh, man. So now we reinstall our doorknob, which is a 400 puff. Okay. All right. Now we're going to reinstall the eyelet, but then we're going to unsolder this bar and we're going to replace it with a different wire. Go into a different contact tab. So let's get the eyelet on. Now, this lead is the most delicate. This is the one I want to keep the bending on down to the most minimum because it's got the most RF damage. All right. Okay. And this is our last tap. So now what we're going to do is we're going to be latching up capacitance. This tuner and that doorknob. Okay. So the first thing that gets latched up is this tuner. And And so after this is fully interlaced, because you'll find that we're probably almost all the way at the very end of its interlacing of the fins. We'll find that we're at the top quarter of this tuner. And so when you go to this last, you grab up the doorknob, which is 400 puff. That'll allow you to be able to bring this tuner back to about half play, half or a quarter play, and allow you to get more within the coupler. So now we're going to put a replacement lead from here I'm just going to snip this on one end. Snip this here. Well, tiny dinky wire. Isn't that special? Okay. We're going to save that eyelet in place. Still, it's not going to work right. Let's try it one more time. So I'm like, come up with all these different crazy ideas. I'm like, oh, I'll re-index this around the other direction, and I don't need to reinvent the wheel. All the connections are here. I mean, I got good contact on the wafer in more than one spot, so why not just re-index everything over two spots? I was way overthinking this, and I'm not even remotely ashamed to admit it. All right, let's put this back together and get done with this. I don't know why that was so effing hard to figure out. I didn't even have to modify any of the wires. Still got all the stock wires in it. I did it wasn't necessary to pull this switch apart, but because there was some pretty catastrophic welding that had taken place on the inside of this switch. But we should have 160 A and B. That's B, A, 80 meter, which is latching up this doorknob. 75, 40, 20, 15, 10. Which are all pretty much untouched. When this flashed over, it did flash into this space here, but I don't see that as being a continuing issue. I'm happy with this. I got good flex joint movement here. I'm happy. I don't see anything up here that's going to keep us from running this thing. So we're going to actually start being able to move here at a little bit faster pace. I want to take the access panel off here on the bottom, for the bottom of the 800s. Then we're going to slap the deck back together. We're going to take a quick look at the power supply. And then we're going to go see if all my nightmare work has been worth it or not. I'm glad we didn't jump right off the boat and go buy that other switch. Let's say that. Let's say that. If somebody doesn't want this box because of the band switch issue, no problem. I keep it. Oh, there's... Here, look. It's pristine. A little bit of dust. So this would be our what? ALC adjustment, yeah. It's our ALC output. I'm down here now. ALC adjust, ALP output. I don't need to do anything underneath here. Alright, let's put this plate back on. So the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone's connected to the hip bone's connected to the dick bone. We all got it on at night. You know, I had that one that was here in town apart probably a dozen times. Because shit continuously kept failing in it. 45-minute long key down sessions. But I very distinctly remember there were no paper insulators of any kind. No paper gasket materials. Let's see, which way do I need to go to be on camera? That way, okay. I'm starting to think that might seriously have led to some of the problems that gentleman was seeing. Of course, hour and a half long key downs probably didn't help the situation none, but driving it to a full tilt, by the way. You know, I'm talking like a 2-pill hitting this thing. I think he had a Palomar 90A he was driving into this. Full chooch for chotch. 2 driving 2. Like 28950s or 26LF6s or whatever it was. I don't see any parasitic issues. Bypass that safety interlock. Yeah, no, not with a zip 'em tie. Do. So who watched Walking Dead last night? I did. Man, that show has lost something. I mean, I really tried. I stuck with it after they killed Glenn off. And it was like, when they killed off Glenn, I was like, you know, it's kind of like you guys are just sitting around in the writer's room going, how can we be more vulgar about this? You know what I mean? Like, it's the kind of, we're just, I don't know. It's like they lost their mojo or something. I know with Rick Grimes leaving the show, the character that played Rick Grimes, that British guy, he's probably off doing Juilliard or Broadway or something right now, but it's like I don't know, it's like I don't know, it's something's different. Something, it's just, its flavor of it is different, I don't know. And they keep teasing the idea that Maggie's gonna come back, and man, she's on her like 5th show now. Did this show Whiskey Tango, which was a flop. She's doing movies and all kinds of shit. I don't know. One they need to finish up is Breaking Bad, the Better Call Saul thing. That is the slowest moving damn show in the universe, but it's good. That needs to come to an end, I think. I'm really looking forward to next Friday with El Camino, the Breaking Bad follow-up movie. Okay, so all the stuff that'll keep me from killing myself is now officially bypassed. This does come with it, which I thought was totally kick-ass. Where'd it go? This is neat. Titan 10A number 2. For 160A, this is where we set our load and our tune. All the way out to 10. This is a good cheat sheet. I will send this with this amplifier. 70 watts drive, 70 watts over 1200 watts, 40. This is a good cheat sheet. This will be handy. All right, well, let's go look at the power supply. Back when they were still supporting this device, they used to have you take the transformer out and then just send a power supply back. I remember one time the capacitors on the power supply and the one that was here in town got so hot, we went down to our, and they blew up. The caps flat out just blew up. We went down to our local electronic recycler joint, and instead of him just spending a couple $100 on the right caps, we built this capacitor bank. Oh god, look at them little tiny diodes. Oh, it's so cute. We built this absurd capacitor bank. I managed to get it to sit in here. It was held together with duct tape, well, Gorilla Glue, and super glue. We made it fit, and it worked. But this, I'm proud to say, is not that. This is pristine. I see no leaking caps. I see no hot connections. So a soft start circuit. This should work. I don't see anything going on here that this was built in 2004. Over here is some stuff written. I'm going to keep my mouth shut because there's a name that's in here. Sears paints for grade. I think the core might have been buzzing. Somebody got creative. Which Actually, this is fine. This doesn't even concern me any. It's built on 8/12/2014. This power supply. I want to go find this guy now. I'm kind of hesitant. I don't want to say his name, but I should, but I shouldn't. Yeah, this has got like little tiny like 3 or 4 amp, 3 amp diodes in it. Knowing me, I'd probably use 10, but this, very comfortable here. This is going to run. I put the lid on it. Okay, well, power supply's hooked up. I currently have fan speed on slow, which I always thought that was, or fast. I always thought that was odd. It's like they ran out of room over here or something. Quantec. Oh, didn't blow up. Yay me. We're in a wait period. Yeah, I see why you stuck the sticks in there. Leave it on high. No? Put it low. Oh, they're warming. Oh, they're warming. Now the real test comes when that wait light turns off. And we get some high voltage here. This is such a pretty little box. Oh yeah, both tubes lit up. Yes! What does a current set of these go for on eBay these days? $800A7. Cool. They're not currently any for sale. We can get the Chinese knockoff copy for $1,000 bucks. $1,000 hairs. Or no, that's a 1,500. I lied. Boy, it's slim pickings when it comes to this tube. iMac 3 CPX 800A7 pulse rated transmission tube. Used. Lot of 2. One's jet black, the other one looks brand new. Condition is unknown. Well, our wait light's off. I tell you, I'm not in any hurry to key this thing up. Okay. Let's bring our fans up to high. Well, let's enter in our data here. So let's see here. .5 and 3.5 supposedly. Well, you know what? I feel like I'm rushing myself here, and I need to let this thing just sit here and run for a little bit. Oh, let's see. High voltage is at 0. Okay. I'm going to let this sit and run at least for a couple hours. I'll be back here after a while. So here's an issue that has just shown up. Here's our key pedal. We're not in operate, we're in standby. We're in QSK, which doesn't matter. That is a 1000 watt slug in 2x and peak, so it's 2000 watts. Hello. But the good news is I'm putting 20 watts of drive into it, which I can't show you because, well, it's stuck in transmit. We're currently pulling 0 signal right now. And it has ever since I first turned it on. Better leave that fan in high. Come on, wait light. There's something wrong with the keying circuit. I don't care. That's easy. I can figure that out. I'm super stoked. There's 2 perfectly good 3CX800A7s in this amp. Which, if you can find them, the Chinese copies from like RF Parts, they're currently out of stock, are over $1,000. And these are IMAX. And they're good. Brand new and good. Well, not brand new, but they're pretty good. Oh, look, the white light's off. So here, we'll click it to operate for the sake of video. Hello. Hello. 1500 watts indicated. Hello. 1.5 kW. Hello. That's dead on with the bird meter. Hello. Now, we're gonna call it quits on this. I'm gonna go eat me some dinner because it's like 7 o'clock at night. I'm gonna let these things cool down for a minute. The tubes are at 87 degrees. That's going to be a mother humper to fix, but it's all good. I'm going to go eat me some dinner. I'll be back. Just got done watching Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings. So, now it is time to do the night shift. Alright, so here's the problem. It is always keyed, and that tells me that the safety interlock circuitry is locked down That tells me quite a few different things are going on here. Just before I ran it, I did notice that this piece of porcelain here for the high voltage standoff for the 2 tubes is cracked. So I need to replace that. Hopefully I've got more porcelain. I don't have to have these tubes in here, and that means we're going to pull them out real fast. And the reason we want to do that is with this thing staying latched up and keyed, we have got the tubes in a constant state of operation, and I've got to run this for a little while with no high voltage on it, and I've got to figure out where the short is at. And now that we've disconnected our high voltage, and we're going to pull our $1,000 a piece. I can't get over this. I did a quick search on the inner boob. See, this is an actual iMac 3CX800. Okay, and so is the other one. Obviously very low time because the inner core around the stem of the anode on the inner side is not discolored. We want to protect these tubes as much as we can. There are currently there's a single set for sale that are used, and they look like they've been run over by a hillbilly, drugged down by the street by a friggin' drunk kid in a friggin' Chevy pickup truck. Translation to that means that we've got to protect these tubes. They're incredibly expensive. So before we go any further, I've got to, there's got to be a clip on this. There is. Got to disconnect the umbilical. Come on, there we go. We're going to flip this sucker over. What the heck is that? Where did you come from, Mr. Wire? Oh, this is solder spooge. Where did this come from? This is sitting over here by the keying circuit. This is our input relay, and then this little white tower that's over here in the corner, which we'll cover in more detail, is our output relay. It is a little Jennings micro vacuum relay, which can carry a ton more schmoosh and jism than a regular relay. Damn, this thing is so pretty. Got one little ding in this back corner and that's it. So let's go in here. Okay. So you got to be careful with porcelain because it can be sharper than razor blades. See how the base has been split? Not acceptable. Not safe, not acceptable. So down here in this box, this collection started with my Uncle Gene. He was a broadcast engineer. And when he got a little bit older, he called me one day and he just dumped all his old parts on me that he'd salvaged out of this, that, or the other thing. And too long. Oh, this ain't looking too hot, guys. This is another box I gotta be careful where I stick my dingus, because that will slice the ever-living shit out of you. Yeah, I remember. I was talking with my cousin on Facebook about that the other night. That'll work. Constantly collecting shit like this. Like, constantly. It's these little things you look out for when you go to Hamfest. You're like, oh, odd man insulators. So, oh, it's a little bit taller, but it's got the same thread pitch to it. So, oh, there's more than plenty of room. That'll work out perfect. If anything, we just improved it. Okay. Come on, guys, we all know when it comes to high voltage, you can't fuck around. You can't super glue parts together and expect shit to work safely. But I'm not pointing the blame at anybody. We are seriously not giving a shit about that. We are just going to fix it and move on with our lives. Okay. By making the standoff a 1/4 inch longer, all we've done is increase the dielectric properties, the insulation properties. Increase its dielectric insulation properties. There we go. Eventually get it out of my mouth hole. Eventually. Okay, so now, whoa, screws must be loose. Yep, way loose. Look at that. Okay. Now, how clean is our fan? Oh, looks good. The grommets look good. Input coax looks good. This is our bias control board here. Make sure we got no pinched wires down in here, which I've seen on previous TenTecs. All right. Now I might take it off with a speed driver, but when you go to put them back down in, especially machine screws like this, not a good idea. I've had some stripping issues, and not stripper issues, stripping issues. The very first time that kind of thing came to my attention was when I was working with my pop, and he kind enough to let me kind of tag along and pretend like I knew something about airplanes, and was working on a Formula One race airplane. And they'd take the screws out with an electric impact wrench, but when they go to put the screws back in for like the cowling around the front end of the airplane, which I always thought was weird that they didn't have like the race Zerk nuts. But we'd put them all back in by hand. And that's because, and then you'd go to the races and you'd listen to these other guys and their teams. You know. And about the third day into racing, man, this one stripped out again. Shit, we're down to 4 on this cowling instead of 5. You know. So my brain started paying attention to it. Okay, so now the amp does not care whatsoever, at least this particular generation of amplifier. It's smart, but it's not really smart. You know, this stuff might carry 1,000,000 watts, but it is sure got a memory to it. Okay, the amp doesn't care if the tube's in it or not. It gives absolutely 0 Fs if the tubes are in it or not. Safety interlocks are bypassed, high voltage is disconnected. So it's going to go through its normal state of operation in a warm-up period, because that's just a very simple timer. But see, now we can go and we can put our hands all over inside this thing with not complete safety, but a whole lot more safety than if we had that high voltage lead attached. And I did happen to notice when I was looking at this thing when it was running that this vacuum relay here is getting a little hot. So we're going to focus most of our attention down to here. These are just our control interfaces up here, but all of the actual control circuitry is done back here. Now I can't help but wonder, something come unplugged, but then we had that weird blob of shotter schmoo that we just pulled out of there. So what's getting so hot down there? A little tiny resistor. What is getting so warm down there? Anyhow, where I was going with that is I can't help but wonder if it's maybe the relay got jarred and it's locked, but then what would cause this to go? Unless the keying circuit over here is permanently locked down. Click that over to operate. Now we enter into the suck portion of the repair. It's time. We're waiting for the timer to kick down and say, okay, go ahead. These little lights right up here up front, waiting for green. Now we have to be ever mindful of the fact that over here is a couple thousand volts of high voltage. And I can do, for the most part, anything I want in here. No, I don't have to worry about short of, getting electrocuted. But over here is instant death if I grab around the back side of that box. So, okay, so relays are currently in a state of operation. With the OPT switch off, I cannot talk through it. And how I'm determining that is by looking up here at this bird meter right here. You guys always wondered why I have a 2950 that does nothing for power. That should read 0. RF is trying to go in and go into the tubes, but there are no tubes present, right? So, let's chase our RF pathway. This is our output, here's our input, and what this is telling me is that this relay here is latched. This is our timer circuit here. So this relay is terminally on. It's latched up as soon as you put power to the box. What drives this relay is this relay here off this send point, I do believe. This is our outgoing SWR bridge right here. Okay. Terminate that. Nothing wrong with the relay. This is gonna take a minute. I'll be back. You dirty rat and some bitch. Okay, so let's we'll start here. That is a 50 watt element in average. I'm just showing that we can put power through it. Hello. Okay, We're gonna go up here. 1 watt slug in reverse. Now look what happens when we step on a foot pedal now. Okay. So let me throw the foot pedal down on the ground so I can utilize yet another limb and pretend like I've got a third arm. Input reflect. It's no longer staying keyed up all the time. What it was this guy right here. This plug. It took a minute to figure this out. I mean, I had to take the whole top side over here, the whole relay section over here apart, and I chased it back over to this plug. What it was plug number 81 and 82. Let's see if it'll let us focus here. Plugs number 81 and 82 were backwards, and then this coax plug was off and up 1 element. So this top plug here, right here, was off and up 1 element. So the RF comes in, goes through the bias board, goes through its own separate trip relay system, then goes back out and it goes over here to this relay circuit. The RF couldn't come out. The output was getting shorted to ground. Sorry for dancing the camera around so much. I had a mosquito land on my shoulder. It's getting shorted to ground, which was giving the false key signal, which was keeping the relay engaged and latched up. So now we can talk through it. And when we step on a pedal, it goes right off. Off pedal, on pedal, off pedal, on pedal. Okay. Now we're finally, after this whole song and dance, are ready to put this plate back on. Let's put some tubes back in it and let's actually run it. Okay. I cannot stress to you enough how much I dislike 2-piece units. And the reasoning behind the dislike is for an obvious reason that is glaring, blazing hot in front of your eyes and you're not seeing it. I just had to hook up my high voltage probe, go to the ground, and then hook up my probe and stick it in the back to determine that the high voltage was bled off before I could attach the external high voltage lead over to the amplifier. Because I'm not going to go and blindly stick my dick in the back of that power plug. I want to know that the high voltage is off the supply. Well, here's the problem, is our only high voltage meter is over here. There should be one here as well for safety. Every single one of these cockmajob right hand left puller nut jobs that are out there building these 2-piece units, either they have a high voltage meter in just the head unit or they have the high voltage meter in the power supply. Oh, but then do you have to have redundancy BBI? Yes! When you have a separated electrical circuit with not a common ground and you can have a lifted high voltage connection between the two, at any point, you have to have multiple metering sources. What if this meter fails? Then you've got a backup. But if the high voltage connector is disconnected from the amplifier, you have no way to know what's going on inside this cabinet. I personally don't like 2-piece units. That being said, this friggin' thing's awesome. You can run a 2-piece unit if you're smart about it and you believe in a bleeder, the bleeder circuit. The bleeder circuit in this thing is almost fault-proof. Very well engineered and designed. You just have to give it time, but you are going to be hooking up to it blind. It will be fully discharged when you receive it on your end, and after you shut the amplifier off, after a few hours or so, guaranteed you're going to be bled down to 0. But it's still, I will walk blindly off the cliff and pray to God that God will catch me on the way down. I don't like that. I'm a fan of an all-in-one with a common ground. And oh, but there is a common ground, you say. Yeah, but what if that plug comes unplugged? What if the little clip in the back comes unplugged? We have no idea what's taking place, here or there. Because this loses its ground reference with that. That's why, in theory, you should run an auxiliary ground strap between the two units. But most guys, they'll spend $4,000 on their amp, but heaven forbid they spend $5 on a friggin' grounding system in their station. Okay, so here we are once again. Let's do the reach of death. All right, 1,000-watt slug in the peak position. I'm going to put about 50-60 watts of drive. Now, we're running my 955 striker. Yes, we are close to the 10 meter band. And we've got the voltage turned way down low. You guys can't see it. Here. Oh. We're at about 12 volts. So I got the striker dialed way back. Let's see if we can get all of this in frame. Let's go ahead, we're going to click this into operate. Now we just overdrove it, and it fault protected itself. We're transmitting. Now, I'm going to teach you guys how to make this thing lie to itself. Look, these tubes are incredibly expensive. These tubes are at full output potential. Okay, so if you don't abuse them, they will last you the rest of your operational life as a radio operator. Okay? But like the guy that used to live or still lives here in town that had one of these at one point, his thing was that he wanted to get every last blith and watt out of the damn thing. So the safety circuit for over output power or overdrive is actually the RF power circuit. So back down in here on the board is two potentiometers. I am not going to touch them for you. But if you go in there and adjust this thing so that it's only showing that the amp's putting out 500 watts, you can increase your drive to the 3CX 800s that are in this thing, or 400s that are in this thing, and Bob's your uncle. It never sees enough output power to trip the protection circuit. Now we're in the 2,000 watt scale. Now, let's go look at the grid current, this meter here. We're taking, and the overdrive light is clicking on, look at this. Okay, we're taking a very hard to find pair of tubes for your viewing pleasure and driving the poop out of them. I hope you've enjoyed it. Now, did you see how the grid meter jumped all the way over here almost to max? And as I continued to turn my load knob, it dropped way back to about 250 mils. When you hear guys talking about, oh, then you dip the grid. That number also happens to coincide with your maximum peak power, period. Because it's when the circuit's the most in resonant. Tube's not having to work as hard to make the most amount of power. 250 mils. If we go over here and look, we're making 1900 plus watts of power with only 50 watts of drive. It's a 2000 watt scale. Here's just the radio. Here's our output power with the amplifier in line. Now in theory we could give it a little bit more because our grid current's so low. We're not beating the shit out of the grids on the tubes. So let's come over here and look again. I'm going to split the view. This mark right here, 0.25. We know how far that meter's moving. You haven't seen me reach around the damn amplifier to go touch the meter. Check this out. Hello, audio 11111111. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 1111111111. Hello, 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 hello. And that's with 50 watts of drive. Let me back that up one more time. Now we're in 1x. Otherwise that's reading like a 1000 watt slug. Hello, audio. Let's get on in there a little bit closer for y'all. For your view and pleasure. Hello, audio. We're not even putting the full 100 watts of drive into the amplifier yet. Okay? Switch across. Go down to 2x. Now we're going to reach down here and we're going to turn our voltage up on our power supply. Charge up our battery bank a little bit. Now we're going to run our drive up a little bit. Hello. Remember, we're in 5x, guys. Hello. 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 Now I'm strictly tuning by the grid meter down here. Now we're well over 2500 watts of power. Back this out a little bit. Simply tuning by the grid meter. Hello. One. Hello. One. Hello. One. Please note the overdrive light's staying nice and not pretty. It's not getting red on us. That gets us hello 1 2 hello 1 2 2400 to 2500 watts with almost no grid current. Translation amp is not working that hard, but then again our plate voltage is incredibly low on this box. This is literally the ultimate 80 meter, guys. Key down, talk to Fred, John, and Tom for an hour to whack. Amplifier. Well, let's do it like this. We did all kinds of crazy stuff. Like we wired this thing 110 and then we took like a 25 amp variac and overdrove the plate transformer so we could increase our plate voltage. There was all kinds of crazy stuff we did to that poor little TenTec. I don't know whatever happened to it. I'm sure he's still got it. He's got it. He was really bad about collecting things and breaking them and then keeping them forever. God, the thing was butchered eyes. The power supply was anyhow. Step on our pedal. Hello. Okay, we are way out of resonance here. Let's go over to AM. turn our power way back here. Remember, this is the band that blew up. We're on a 2,000 watt scale right now. All right, now let's go find it on sideband. Hello. Audio. Hello. Let's see. Let's run this down to the lower end of the 160 meter band. So we'll go to, let's say, 825. And some change. Hello. Hello, hello. Oh yeah. Hello. 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 Now the hardest I'll ever be on these tubes is when we're trying to find the tune. That's the reason you create yourself a cheat sheet. Now this guy says 160A is supposed to be 6.9, which will go to about 6.5, and 5.5. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Hello, audio, which is pretty darn close. All right, so let's increase our power on our ICOM to full output. Hello, audio. Hello. Hello. It's about 1900 watts. About 1900 watts on 160 meters, which is really quite impressive if you think about it. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. And that's at about 300 mils worth of current draw on hello. Oh, about an amp worth of plate. So our guy says 5.5 here. Pretty darn close. Okay, so now let's try 160B. Now our guy says 4.25 here, which makes sense. And we'll back this off to about 4. Hello. Nope. Way out. Hello. I'm not like jamming this much current or watts. All right. Ah, I know why. Big dummy. Now we'll go to, we'll say 195. And some change. Hello. Hello, hello. Our input reflect is nothing. Hello. 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 This thing is not happy at all. Hello. One. Exhaust air temperature off our tubes is 100 degrees. Well, it's looking like I'm going to have to come back to the I have to come back to the 160A position. Let's move on to 80 meters, if you don't mind. All right. We go to AM. Set our power up. You guys know that you can read this meter and all that other stuff, so according to this, 80 meters, it's going to be roughly 6.75. And 7. So where am I? I'm in the upper end of 80. Yes, I am. It's right around 6, he says. A 400 watt dead key. Sideband. Hello. Oh yeah, now we're talking. So we'll turn our RF power up. Hello. 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 Hello, 1, 2. So what we got for forward power indicated? Hello, about 1900 watts with the overdrive light blinking. Grid meter is telling us what? Hello, 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 hello. A little bit high. Hello. Hello. Now we're going to go look at our peak power numbers on the actual meter. Hello, audio, 1, 2, 1, 2. Easily full legal limit. Where are we? We need to be here. There we are. 80 meters. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll flip the switch on the old band selector down here. For 75 meters. It's going to be the very top end of 80 meters. About 3.80. And we're not going to be too far off from this, I just know it. So it's going to want, really? He's telling me 7 on the input here, which is going to be about 5. And he's saying about 6.7. I bet you it's going to be around 6. Hello. 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 1, 2, hello. Now we're talking. If you're not paying attention to the smudge mark in the top right hand corner, it's kind of impressive. Let's go look at this for a minute. Hello. Yeah, it's pinned over in the corner. I bet you we're at about 2400 watts right now. So we'll go on down to 5x, so 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, 5000. Okay. We've all seen me do this 100 times. Hello. 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 Hello, 1 2 1 2. Only 30 mils. 30 mils with a draw. Hello. Hello. Pinning that average needle in the corner, and we're about 2300 watts. And that's with 100 watts of drive. Hello, 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. This amp really works well. I think my mind is sitting here going, what did I not hook up on the 160 meter slot? Here, I think I'm missing a cap. Okay, so let's go on over to 40 meters now. So it's going to put us up in the range of about 7 megahertz. 7. Oh, oh, oh. So let's try. He says that this thing is supposed to be 0 resonance here and 0 here. I'll believe it when I see it. Back to power way down on the radio. We'll go to AM so we have some kind of bass carrier. Hello. Close. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Hello. Hello. I'm not digging this. Hello. 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 Audio. Hello. Audio. I'm a mental midget. I'm sitting here looking at the watt meter, and I realized I have it on 5x scale. This is about getting over 1,000 watts most of the time. That's a 600 watt dead key. Hello, audio. Hello. Audio. 1111. Hello, hello, hello. Tuning by the grid meter. You gotta have a grid meter on your amp, you guys. Gotta have it. $100 watts of drive. Hello, hello. Hello. Full output, 2,000 plus watts. All right, 20 meters, here we come. Go to the 14 megahertz. Say around 3. And then I'm going to dial this back to about 6. Okay. Let's run this thing through its paces one more time down here. We're almost done with this laborious process, but guys, I got to demonstrate it working on every band, or otherwise no one wants to play. Go to AM. Oh, it's going to get with it. Hello. 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 Once again. Hello. And please note how little amount of time I've spent off the key. Believe me when I tell you, I'm very familiar with this amplifier. And what I'm doing to it right now, the tubes are at 101 degrees, 102, 103 degrees. Look at this. Focus here, camera, right here. Hi, camera. Tech 9 called me the other day. He goes, man, dude, I like your new camera. It's really clear, but it's got a shitty focus. I'm like, yeah, I know. So looking about 104 degrees with all this key down time. Ain't hurting nothing. Okay, so we're well over 2,000 watts. And I knew this going in. I read the reviews. Everybody's like, oh, it's got a crappy autofocus. That's not what you buy this camera for. Hello. Hello. 2400 watts easily. All right, let's go look at 15 meters. We'll do it right down the middle. We'll go 2101. Okay. According to this, somewhere in the area of 2.5 and 3.5, but I have a feeling it's going to be more towards the upper end around 5. Yeah, it's going to work good here too. Hello. Hello. Burying it off the scale. Let's take a look down here at the front of the radio or the amplifier. Back this off. Hello. Audio. Wow, I haven't seen it go that far yet. I want to go look at it on the peak meter over here. 5x. Hello. Hello. Spot on the money. 2300 watts over here. Hello. 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 1111. Oh. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. That's only pulling 300 mils worth of jizz. I mean, that's just impressive to me. All right, let's go to the most hated band of them all. We'll go at 28,200. Go to 10 meters. He's saying about 2. He's saying close to 1. I bet you we're going to be around 3. Let's see if we can go find it. All right. AM dead carrier. Hello. Remember, I left it on the 5X. All right, back up to 2X. Now we're reading 2000 watt scale again. Hello. 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 Audio. God, this thing runs smooth. All right, so tuning just strictly by the grid meter, 10 meters is looking like this. Hello, audio, 1, 2, 1, 2. Not tearing up the tubes, not tearing up the power supply. So, all that love, and we're at 108 degrees. I think we're running the tubes at about half. All right, well, I'm gonna let this cool off for a minute. I'm gonna flip it around, bleed off high voltage, and I'm gonna figure out what I didn't hook up on the 160B band switch, because the band switch is obviously working. It's got the wrong level of capacitance hooked up in the wrong spots. Give me just a second, we shall return. Jeez, who's a retard running this joint? Forgot to put a jumper between two of the paddles on the freaking band selector. Okay. We are on 160B. We're at 193 megahertz, or 1.93 megahertz, 932 megahertz. Focus, thank you. So we're on the upper end of 160 meters, where the 160B is going to be. We're on the 2000 watt scale on the bird. Hello. Hello. 1900 watts on 160 meters on the upper end. If they can't hear you on 1900 plus watts, you've got a problem. Okay. Hello. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Let's go refind it on the lower end of things. Oh yeah, here. Big input differences here. All right. Hello. Hello. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, hello, audio, 1, 2, hello, audio, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1900, 2000 watts peak. The same 100 watts worth of drive. Hello, audio, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I haven't seen the input come up off of absolute zero yet. Ugh. All right. Put the tin on this thing. First we're going to let it cool down, and we're going to shut her down. I'll put the tin on it, and let's sit down and talk about it. Well, you guys, this has been a long journey and an incredibly busy day for me. My day started at 6:30 this morning, and it's now 1 o'clock in the morning, and I got about 3 or 4 hours of video editing ahead of me. But guys, this is the TenTec Titan 425. I think I've thoroughly covered its operation, what it does for power, the quality of the tubes, and the quality of the setup. I've always been very taken with TenTec. They're a great amplifier. I've had, this will be my 4th one through here now. This one on a scale to 1 to 10, aesthetically on the outside is about a 9.5. Now we know that band switch on the inside had been nuked, but it's been completely repaired. Obviously it works just fine now. So that does diminish the value on this thing by a bunch. I get that. Undocumented, untested, with no pictures on this, I've seen these things selling for $1,800, $1,900, $2,000. And they're 5 and 6 year old listings. The tubes that are in this thing, if you can find them and they're tested and they show that they put out full output, they're selling, iMac tubes are selling in the upwards area of $1,300, $1,400 a piece. The Chinese drop-in replacements that are currently, there's none available, they're $1,000. This has 2 relatively new full output iMac tubes in it. Very thoroughly tested. The amplifier can do much more power than this, I'm here to tell you. I mean much more, like almost up to 5,000 watts peak, but you've got to bypass a bunch of safety interlocks and you got to modify the power supply. This is not that. This is a go everywhere, talk literally as long as your heart could possibly desire, put 100 watts into it and get 2,000 watts out of it all day long amp. It's type accepted, it's fully approved. I love how it's got different staging for 160A, 160B, 80, and 75. A lot of amps don't have that. They just don't. There are some deficiencies. One of the feet on the bottom of this power supply is a double rubber stop. It's not a complete stock foot. There's a scuff mark here, a little tiny scuff mark here, and a little tiny scuff mark up here. Little tiny, can't even see it, nicks in the front edge of the lid. There's a scuff mark on top of the amplifier here. The band selector was cracked, but it's been professionally fixed. And there are 3 or 4 little nicks on this corner of the face. And then this back corner over here has got a little ding in it. But, I mean, we're talking about small details, you guys. And I'm just trying to be full exposure, wide open, not hide anything. We know the bottom side of this thing is absolutely mark free. And if I would have never pointed out this had been cracked, you would never know. You would never know. This thing is a beautiful amplifier. The umbilical that goes between the two, there is a scuff mark about 1.5 feet from the power supply. It's got 5 foot of umbilical between the amp head and the power supply. It's completely stock. It's also got about 5.5 feet of high voltage line, which is double insulated with Mullen connectors on each end of it. The thread kind, not the push-in kind, the kind that kill you, you know. I wanted to demonstrate this again. This is slow, and that is fast on the fan. You'd think they could put the switch on here someplace, but they didn't. All the meters read exactly accurate. All the lights in it work. If this was a 10 out of a 10, I would probably ask 18 or 2,800 for this, 2,900 bucks for this box, just because of the tubes. This is not that. This is significantly not a 10 out of a 10. The band selector issue that we spent most of the day struggling through, and I don't know why I overthink that so much. I'm sorry for wasting so many minutes of your guys' lives watching me mentally work through that very tough mental challenge of climbing Mount Everest to figure out all I had to do is move 3 wires and it would have been fine. In my mind, really hurts the value of this. The replacement band switch for this is over 400 bucks, including shipping. The guy on eBay just recently reduced the price. It's $369.95 and $40 in shipping or some crazy shit. So it's over 400 bucks. For us to put the band switch in here would make this thing so expensive nobody would want to buy it. So we're going to put the price on this at $2,000 plus the ride. And I think firmly in my heart that it's worth every penny of that. And I mean every penny of that. I do like how tall the deck is. You could probably easily go in and modify this thing with a pair of GS, whatever. You know, it is what it is. It's just a beautiful, clean looking, clean running box. Give me a call. If you're interested in picking it up, I'd be interested in moving it into your world. So on that note, gentlemen, I'm going to say have a good day. Bum bum from the biggest duck in Idaho, Mr. BBI himself. Hello. Hello. You pay attention to your grid meter. Don't overdrive the crap out of stuff. And pay attention to your exhaust temperature. This thing will last you till you die. I mean, look at all the abuse I put it through, and the hottest I could get the tubes is 116 degrees, 120 degrees. This is a good box. And I'm going to back it up. Gentlemen, I got to go. 2,000 even, plus the ride. We'll see ya. Bye.